And next up, we have someone I think a lot of folks will know, very known man about town here in the Phoenix area. We have Garrick McFadden.
Hello, Garrick.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I am trying to work my screen because my computer went out on me, so I am
Oh
Yeah.
getting used to the
no.
camera.
Mm. You're doing all right. You're perfect right there. Stay right
You're
there.
good. You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So Garrick is a very well known activist around town, involved with the Democratic Party, and for Black History Month has been posting every day different books by Black authors, which was part of what inspired me to reach out to you. So you want to tell us a little about what you're going to be reading for us today?
My parents were voracious
Mm-hmm.
readers of Black literature, Black
Mm-hmm.
authors, Black nonfiction. We had from Maya Angelou, we had Ben Carson's book before he went crazy. We had we had Roots, we had everything, but we had
Wow.
no James Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
None. And if I examine it, I believe that Baldwin's writing is still
Mm-hmm.
evergreen. His views on racism, his connection
Mm-hmm.
between the LGBTQIA community and the Black church are still relevant. But because he's
Mm-hmm.
Black and he was gay, he was hidden
Mm-hmm.
and not she
Mm-hmm.
was shunned and not talked away about. And I read The Fire Next Time about 2 years ago, and since then, you know, my love of Baldwin has been something that has just grown. And so I'm reading a section of Notes of a Native Son that starts. It's about the death of his father and him coming to terms with going to the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, great. Yeah, James Baldwin. We're talking Black LGBT literature. Can't do it without James Baldwin. So central. So I'm excited. All right. Well, Garrick,
Stage
here we
is all
go. Yep.
yours.
Take it away.
My last night in New Jersey, a white friend from New York took me to the nearest big town, Trenton, to go to the movies and have a few drinks. As it turned out, he also saved me from, at the very least, a violent whipping. Almost every detail of that night stands out very clearly in my memory. I even remember the name of the movie we saw because its title impressed me as being so patently ironical. It was a movie about the German occupation of France, starring Maureen O'Hara and Charles Laughton, and called This Land Is Mine. I remember the name of the diner we walked into when the movie ended. It was the American Diner. When we walked in, the counterman asked what we wanted, and I remember answering with the casual sharpness which had become my habit. We want a hamburger and a cup of coffee. What do you think we want? I do not know why, after a year of such rebuffs, I so completely failed to anticipate his answer, which was, of course, we don't serve Negroes here. This reply failed to discompose me, at least for the moment. I made some sardonic comment about the name of the diner, and we walked out into the streets. This was the time of what was called the brownout, when the lights in all American cities were very dim. When we re entered the streets, something happened to me that had the force of an optical illusion or a nightmare. The street the streets were very crowded, and I was facing north. People were moving in every direction, but it seemed to me, in this instance, that all the people I could see, and many more than that, were moving towards me, against me. And and that everyone was white. I remember how their faces gleamed, and I felt like a physical sensation, a click at the nape of my neck, as though some interior string connecting my head to my body had been cut. I began to walk. I heard my friend call after me, but I ignored him. Heaven only knows what was going on in my mind. But he had the good sense not to touch me. I don't know what would have happened if he had, and to keep me in sight. I don't know what was going on in my mind either. I certainly had no conscious plan. I wanted to do something to crush these white faces, which were crushing me. I walked for perhaps a block or two until I came to an enormous, glittering, and fashionable restaurant in which I knew not even the intercession of the Virgin would cause me to be served. I pushed through the doors and took the first vacant seat I saw and at a table for two and waited. I do not know how long I waited, and I rather wonder until today what I could possibly have looked like. Whatever I looked like, I frightened the waitress who shortly appeared, and the moment she appeared, all of my fury flowed towards her. I hated her, her white face, and for her great, astounded, frightened eyes. I felt that if she found a black man so frightening, I would make her fright worthwhile. She did not ask me what I wanted, but repeated as though she had learned it somewhere. We don't serve Negroes here. She did not say it with a blunt derisive hostility to which I had grown so accustomed, but rather with a note of apology in her voice and fear. This made me colder and more murderous than ever. I felt I had to do something with my hands. I wanted her to come close enough for me to get her neck between my hands. So I pretended not to have understood her, hoping to draw her closer. And she did step a very short step closer, with her pencil posed incongruously over her pad, and repeated the formula. Don't serve Negroes here. Somehow, with the repetition of of that phrase, which was already ringing in my head like 1,000 bells of a nightmare, I realized that she would never come any closer, and that I would have to strike from a distance. There was nothing on the table but an ordinary water mug, half full of water, and I picked this up and hurled it with all my strength at her. She ducked, and it missed. It missed her and shattered against the mirror behind the bar. And with that sound, my frozen blood abruptly thawed. I returned from wherever I had been. I saw for the first time the restaurant, the people, with their mouths open, already, as it seemed to me, rising as one man. And I realized what I had done and where I was, and I was frightened. I rose and began running for the door. A round, pot-bellied man grabbed me by the nape of my neck just as I reached the doors and began to beat me about the face. I kicked him and got loose and ran into the streets. My friend whispered, "Run," and I ran. My friend stayed outside the restaurant long enough to misdirect my pursuers and the police who arrived. He told me at once. I do not know what I said to him when he came to my room that night. I could not have said much. I felt in the oddest, most awful way that I had somehow betrayed him. I lived it over and over and over again, the way one relives an automobile accident. And it was as it after it had happened and one finds oneself alone and safe. I could not get over two facts, both equally difficult for the imagination to grasp, and one was that I could have been murdered. But the other one was that I had been ready to commit murder. I saw nothing very clearly, but I did see this, that my life, my real life, was in danger, and not from anything other people might do, but from the hatred I carried in my own heart. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Garrick. That was amazing.
That was good. That was so good. And isn't it amazing how that is all still just like Evelyn's, the poem, this selection, it's all still relevant, and you can't run away from what's there. The even though people don't say the same exact words, they it comes across